Back here once again for live tornado warning coverage. A new tornado warning has been issued now until 9 o'clock for parts of Calhoun, Randolph, and Terrell here in towards southwestern Georgia. At about 8:35, it's a thunderstorm capable of producing a tornado is located near Edison. Again, that storm we were watching just a little while ago, it really kind of re-strengthened as soon as we went off here. So let's go ahead and switch on over and zoom on in so you guys see exactly what we're talking about here. We just ended up on the preload screen, I guess you could say here, as we were trying to come back with this coverage. Once again, you can see the circulation as we kind of go. You see how it kind of got tight again right after that warning expired. I think 31, but then right after you see some pink still up, and now you kind of see it fading back a little bit, but it's still there, still apparent to some degree. So you still got to take those tornado precautions. Don't ever lay your guard down in these areas. Again, the warning went away, then we started to see some brighter colors refire, and now starting to see them fade back a little bit, but not going to necessarily completely kind of have that correlation between what we're seeing in the radar and what maybe is actually happening to the surface. It might take a few minutes here, one way or the other, to exactly see what we're seeing on the radar here be more what's actually happening closer down toward the surface, because we are looking here over 3,000 feet up. So you kind of have to bear that in mind. But as we look here for any possible tornado debris, we're not necessarily seeing that still, which is good. Of course, that can always change. We're still not really seeing that on that scan either. A little something maybe as we look here, but I don't think it's really co-located. These are kind of hard to pick out sometimes, but in the exact spot because they're so weak overall. But still 60, 80 mile-an-hour winds, that you have zero rains, and then possibly if you have one tornado up to 110 mile-an-hour winds. We are kind of emphasizing those numbers because this is an environment that's not capable of really producing stronger tornadoes here, but still winds to 100 are pretty damaging here, and we don't have tornadoes that are that strong in this area anyway. So any tornado warning, you have to take it seriously. We have to do that continuous coverage to keep everybody safe here, of course, on this threat. So again, a possible tornado here in play as we're looking from Calhoun County, Randolph, and then again moving into toward Terrell County here over the next few minutes. So just watching some of these different scans here on the radar. Again, a tornado warning is in play, so go ahead and take those tornado precautions here. That means seek shelter inside a sturdy building, get as many walls between you and the outside as possible, and protect yourself from flying debris by putting on a bicycle helmet here in this area. Again, seeing some lightning even with this as we look further off toward the east, but toward the west where we have the circulation that seems to be kind of re-emerging again. You have to go ahead and be aware that there might not be that much lightning around, that if any. That's tropical environment for you here, though. So you have to be kind of watching that. I know we're looking to the north of Morgan, but it's after sunset now, so you wouldn't see anything. Probably wouldn't see this coming here, especially because we're at night. As we continue to look here toward the north, in towards southern Georgia, things look a little more impressive again within velocity. Not really impressive, but it's there. That circulation that we're watching, you see 53 mile-an-hour wind maybe showing up in here, so gotta be cognizant of that. We'll continue to monitor things. Let's look down to the south to see if anything kind of is a little bit more ominous. We're seeing a little bit of weak rotation in Early County, but not as strong there. Kind of looking towards southeastern Alabama, not seeing much there. Sumter County's out of area. There's a chance maybe of some wind enhancement in that region, but nothing that looks too much like a tornado at this moment. But you never know if they're a little further from the radar of it. As we get here toward Randolph County, Terrell County, also into toward Calhoun County, we do have that circulation. We're continuing to watch that. We want you to take those tornado precautions once again here in this area. We were just on a few minutes ago for this threat, so make sure you're doing that. I'll be back in just a few more minutes with more information as we're watching here toward parts of southwestern Georgia. A tornado in play, potentially because of Ida here, at least radar indicated with that tornado warning set to expire right now at 9 o'clock. Back here in the Weather Center, still watching things with that tornado warning up toward the north in effect for another 10 minutes or so for parts of Calhoun, Randolph, and Terrell counties. So let's go ahead and zoom back on in toward that area as we try to keep everybody safe and informed tonight. You see some lightning more further off in Terrell, but we've had that circulation here within the radar. It's weakened back down again as it moves from Randolph in toward parts of Terrell County here. In fact, I'll kind of point things out for you on the screen. You see a little bit of wind divergence here as you see some of that green trying to enter on in, but in the red here a little bit brighter as we're watching that, but it's not near as bright as it was. We're not seeing as much gate to gate here in the picture. You can kind of see those greens and reds trying to match on up there earlier on, not far from Edison, but then as we kind of put this back into motion, it's kind of falling off, but it could re-strengthen again. We've already seen a weaken off some and re-strengthen multiple times really, so you have to be kind of aware of that. As let's go on over toward our radar scope computer now as we're watching this situation very carefully. Again, a possible tornado toward Randolph County there, toward Terrell County, moving more away from Calhoun at this point. But again, we're looking at southwestern Georgia, the threat toward north central Florida a lot lower. But as we get here toward this area, you can kind of see some of this wind enhancement within the radar echoes here. So some of these brighter colors trying to indicate those winds here as we're looking, kind of going away from the Doppler radar here at Fort Rutgers. So something to kind of watch out for. We'll go ahead now and show you the viewpoint on camera once again and kind of reinforce some of those tornado safety tips here as well. So let me go ahead and punch up the graphic system now. We can try to see our full graphic on that, as you do want to go ahead, of course, in this situation and get as many walls between you and the outside as possible. A sturdy building, the most preferable spot for you to go. Maybe some flying debris possible with those winds upwards of maybe 100 miles an hour, probably even lower than that, but especially at this point. But put on a bicycle helmet. Again, things can refire here. As we've seen, we could have other storms kind of reemerge, so just stay tuned from that aspect. And then as we look on over to the Broadview to some late rain in north central Florida, toward that area, you do see toward Marion County a little more something, but not anything too impressive over there. As we get further away from Ida, you can see here our line though. That's where we've had this area of rotation over the last little bit. You see our energy values, they're up. You see some other values here up, and that's why we're seeing this situation. Some of these significant parameters that are important for this to kind of determine exactly what's going on. So you can see our storm up here toward Tennessee, but then the banding features, they kind of extend down here as you get that latest update. Ida still having an impact here, and a possible tornadoes in our area because of Ida right now here Tuesday. I mean, we're 2.5 days almost here after that initial landfall toward Louisiana there. So this has really been going on for a while with this storm having that influence. And you see rotation tracker actually picking up on this pretty good now on this latest scan. So something to kind of watch for here as you see that. It might make the weather service a little more liable to keep the warning. You see that more in that easterly movement, but we're not seeing as much on the raw output here. So hard to say exactly what they're going to do. I would still lean to drop it, but because of the history and because of that raw output, even though it's not showing it now, we're showing the storminess in terms of that rotation. And then, of course, we saw the rotational tracker showing that. So got to be aware. I know we've had some gusty winds out of ward north central Florida, as we talked about earlier. Not severe weather, but that's the 43 in Cedar Key earlier. So something to kind of be mindful of there. Continuing to watch to see if we have any spin where those red and greens come together, because when the red and greens come together, when we say those brighter colors to you, you do see a little bit of something there bluffed and not too impressed. But when we have those with a tornado warning threat, that means you want to get under the bed, Roy. When the red and greens come together, that's what you kind of want to do in that type of situation. So again, continuing our tornado warning coverage this evening. Of course, Ida here. Watching that as it does move away, but still have that influence. Of course, all the destruction in Louisiana. Some reports indicate maybe a month until some power comes back on. So just not a good situation out there. Being without power for a month is a very bad thing. Just so much damage to the power grid there as we're looking toward parts of southeastern Louisiana. As we look at rainfall over the last hour, you can see some spots getting about 1.5 inches here as we get toward areas not far from Carnegie. As we get down here towards street level map and County Road 178, seeing some of this. So we have to just kind of be watching and looking here at this threat of this storm system. Again, we were talking about it earlier during our coverage, but the storm system here, as I go ahead and go between some of my graphics that we have in our system right now, of course, when it made landfall on Sunday, it was a catastrophic Category 4 hurricane with those winds as high as about 150 max sustained, maybe gust even higher. There was a gust report about 171. Now, it might have been a little elevated, but still, just incredible wind speeds with this historic storm. I don't think we can kind of discount that because of just the historic nature of things. And that tornado threat is something that lingers with that low pressure here. It's more of a severe weather type pattern that we're seeing. So, have to be on guard, even if this isn't necessarily here toward more populated zones. We cover all of our counties here with those tornado warnings when they're in play. We're on no matter what, and we cover southwestern Georgia and give you that information to protect you, your friends, and your family. As you see, even less rotation down there. The Weather Service doesn't want a situation where things are backed up on us, so we just have to be kind of cognizant here. So a little wind enhancement toward Dawson, maybe winds to, that's pretty high actually, winds to about 50 there. So that's something to kind of watch, not necessarily rotation, but maybe a severe thunderstorm warning scenario. We'll have to wait and see as we're looking eventually toward Lee County and the Leesburg area. So again, you see the tornado warning there toward the north. You see another circulation trying to get going now. As we look back here north of Bancroft there in Arlington, as we look in toward western parts of Calhoun County. So that might be something to watch here in the future with a possible spin. Let's look for any debris, any circulation reaching the surface. Not really seeing that there. And then as we get up toward the north, we're really not seeing that there either. But again, we're continuing to monitor things here with this severe weather setup, with this banding feature that's extending all the way down from the remnants of major Hurricane Ida. Just interesting to see that here within our different mode of the Doppler radar. FSU's all quiet. I know that's good news, but let's go ahead and take that weather stem camera just to kind of give you guys that visual. We had some storminess around there earlier. But the chance we could still have some more storms later. We'll just have to wait and see. So it's always important just to have those ways to get those alerts here. Make sure you are kind of on guard in case anything does happen. But again, there's your viewpoint from Tallahassee. Of course, my alma mater, Florida State. And getting ready for that big game Sunday against Notre Dame. As it looks like it's 9 o'clock now, so we should be getting some word here from the Weather Service soon on what they're going to do with this warning. I still see it on some of my maps. This map, it went away, but let's see what else we have here. I know the Storm Prediction Center sent out the latest update here on the severe weather threat, and they still have some of our zones here into that marginal 1 out of 5 risk here. That 2% tornado risk still on the board. A marginal risk for that, and then the wind risk here. Goes a little bit further up really, but again, an isolated spin-up tornado, a weak one can't be ruled out. Interesting to see a tornado risk in some spots and not a severe thunderstorm warning risk necessarily. That's just the nature of things sometimes with that spin in the atmosphere in an unusual setup like this one with that low pressure to the north. More a tropical weather pattern here, mixing with a severe weather type setup. You kind of see little lines that look like kind of are squall lines, but they're kind of squalls from what's left of Ida here, moving through parts of our area, despite Ida being way up here toward Tennessee. So again, I see that polygon on the screen still. Let's see here. I think we just going to get an update in here in just a moment. So let me go ahead and switch back on over here. It looks like that warning's gone now, so that's some good news here. As we're continuing to watch things, they have dropped that warning officially now. So we'll go out and kind of go ahead and show you that local viewpoint marginal risk area in play, but have not seen that warning extended. We're now past that 9 o'clock benchmark. So see that rain, since we already had to come back on once here real quick earlier for the same storm. I am going to kind of stretch this out just a few more minutes to make sure we don't have another extension because we hate to have to come back on and then start another stream and then maybe miss important minutes within a tornado warning and maybe a potential tornado genesis. So let's go ahead and switch on over toward radar scope now. You'll be able to see what we're talking about with these areas of rotation. They're really broad at this point, but you do see a little something here, a little something here, as we're looking west of Sasser there, and then if you can kind of see, I'll move the map over, we see some areas closer toward Edison, A little bit of wind divergence here, something maybe right in there, but they're all weak and broad in nature right now, so that's good news. That's definitely good news. All kind of just broad. Hopefully, I mean, we thought it might earlier be the case where we saw these kind of fade away with the loss of the daytime heating, and instead we saw things really spark up when we went off. So I don't want to. I know we stayed on an extra few minutes even after, but I'm gonna make sure we stay on a little bit more here this time. Make sure everybody's kind of out ahead of things as we look here. We're talking about pretty rural areas. We give you guys a heads up of the threat in general, but still, I don't like to have a situation where we have a warning and we have just gone off and we have to come back on for the same general area. Even though we had about a 5-minute gap in between, this could always be a similar case. So we have to be mindful of that. At the banding there again, seeing that extend on down here from Ida, what's left of it, as we're watching on different radars, continuing to monitor things. You can see some lightning here closer towards Shasta there, moving toward Lee County. If you're watching from Lee County, Georgia there, some gusty winds, heavy rain moving toward you guys there around Leesburg over the next little bit. So something to watch out for. We'll see if anything kind of reemerges in terms of a severe threat there. As we get back down toward Calhoun County, you do see Edison there. I've been talking about you guys for a while. Again, no active warning in play at this point, but we're going to keep watching things here. We're going to keep watching. You see west of Blakely, monitoring the radar trends over that way. You can see west of Dothan there, Clayhatchee, seeing some areas of broad rotation, already having a history of tornadoes off toward the west tonight around Dothan, so you have to be kind of cognizant of that. Again, seeing Ida severe threat come to fruition. We were talking about that threat here, kind of that eastern side of the storm system, even though it's up toward the north. We're on that southeastern side at this point. Some areas further up there toward the northeastern side of that broad circulation. And tomorrow, Roy going to be watching toward Washington, D.C. there. Roy, big flooding threat. Roy, major threat in general for that. And even tornado threat there. Maybe not for strong tornadoes in the general sense, but quite a few tornadoes like this could have quite a few tornado warnings in that area tomorrow, and a pretty good amount of damage there for that part of the country, based on them not getting tornadic accident all that often. That we have seen tornadoes in that general vicinity earlier on toward some of those early months here as we were looking back toward that summer time frame. I know meteorological summer there wrapping on up here tonight, so meteorological fall technically starts tomorrow as we start that calendar in a little less than 3 hours. For September. So again, getting into that fourth quarter, I guess. Let me think. Yeah, not quite that fourth quarter yet. So I guess if you want to put the years into thirds, though, we could kind of think of it like that, though, because 9, 10, 11, 12. So our last third of the year of 2021 starting here tomorrow, I guess. But again, that fourth quarter would start in October, right after the fall change there, as we would see with our typical fall calendar there. But again, you do see lightning, Dawson, seeing a little bit of a curly Q there. I see a little more rotation toward Americus. That's out of our zone in Sumter County there. But you can kind of see here Morgan, Calhoun County, Dawson there, watching that area. We'll see if anything kind of reemerges here as we go back on over toward our other mode of the Doppler radar. You can kind of see here maybe a little something north of Arlington. So if we go off and have to come back on, maybe something spins up there, and that might be what prompts us to have to do that. So pretty broad nature. We switch radars over the last little bit. So bear with me as we kind of catch back up there. But you see a little bit of broad rotation. Not enough for a tornado warning yet, I don't think. But as we look up towards Shasta, we're not seeing a lot there. Not really hearing anything about that tornado warning situation here in the chat room. We're about 6 minutes after that expiration, but I'm going to keep watching. You see Dougherty County. Some of this could be moving closer to them in a little bit, so a higher popular area could be at risk there. So just make sure you have those multiple ways to get alerts. We have that Cloud_WX on Twitter account as well. That'll send out those automated alerts when we're not able to be on right then, but within a couple minutes, of course, we'll be on to protect you, your friends, and your family with the comprehensive tornado warning coverage, as we always do here. As we look at the chat once again, we always offer that comprehensive coverage to protect you, your friends, and your family in these situations. We've done it for every single tornado warned storm here at the impact our viewing area since late in 2019. It's our commitment as we're trying to earn your trust here in the Cloud Weather Center. Thanks so much for tuning in for now. If we see something else we need to pop back on for, of course we will. We've been doing it. This third cutting we've had to do here for that cover to still have that band, because to have more areas of rotation develop. So remain on guard here. Don't let your guard down in this situation. We're not going to let our guard down. We're going to be in the weather center. We'll be here as long as it takes to keep everybody out ahead of the storms. Seeing a little lightning evolve there toward Albany, seeing some areas of rotation. Nothing really impressive, but it's not going to take too much. It's not going to take too much here to get something to spin up where a new tornado warning may be required in this type of environment. Again, thanks so much for tuning in. We'll be back as necessary.